Simply the best. Better than all the rest. Alright, so everybody knows, mate.
We're on.
Are we? We're live. Live action. Yay!
Welcome to Clint and Kane Radio.
Welcome to the couch with the Twin Towers.
Yes. That is what we are called.
Welcome to the couch. Yeah, there's so much.
In this episode of On the Couch with the Twin Towers. Where the hell do we start, eh?
I know.
What a day. Walked into that place yesterday and I was tired. So this is morning of day 3 before we head out. But yesterday morning I was tired and then we walked into the room, sat down, they kicked off, and within like 1 minute I was like,
yeah.
And pretty much like that for the rest of the day.
Having a boogie, getting down.
Let me tell you one thing. I feel like I've crushed my fear of dancing in front of other people.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You know what that's a fear of though? Judgment.
Fear of judgment.
Not being
FOPO. Fear of other people's opinions.
Yeah, 100%. What do we start with? I got a good one.
Yep, go.
So, big thing from yesterday big thing from the whole seminar so far has been about state. So we've literally been, every sort of hour to 2 hours, like we have literally been trying to work on getting to a peak state. And from what I can tell, Tony and his team, they're trying to anchor in a peak state with us, and we're trying to elicit that peak state as much as we can with our anchors, so that over the 4-day seminar, you're training yourself to be able to go into that peak state quicker and more efficiently every single time, and then be able to bring yourself back down. So we're doing so many different exercises, like we're finding a really negative state and we're getting in a negative state, which me and Clint have sort of found is hard for us to get into one of those negative states. He's saying, oh, get angry, think of something that makes you angry and get mad. And
I think it's hard for us because we're in such a peak high state, we don't want to go down there.
Yeah.
I think in day-to-day life, it can get easy to do it.
Yeah. Well, that's it. We haven't got any external stimulus to throw us into those negative states. But I'm sitting there smiling when he's telling us to get angry. I'm like, fuck, come on, get rid of this fucking smile and get angry.
Can you imagine staring at that face and not laughing?
Exactly. And not smiling ear to ear because it's fucking beautiful. So we're eliciting these peak states every single time. And we're doing it literally over and over and over again. And he's anchoring so many different things into us. He's anchoring the word yes, and clapping, and clenching your fist, and he's literally anchoring all these different things. Taps on the shoulder he was doing the other night to us. Yesterday, put down your books. He was anchoring words. He was saying every time he said put down your books, that was getting us into a peak state, and it's happening quicker every time. So I just want to talk about state and what makes up what he calls emotional fitness instead of emotional intelligence. So he says it's not emotional intelligence because intelligence can be learned but not used. Like knowledge can be learned and gained but not used, whereas fitness is something that is trained. You need to have it, and when you're fit, you're ready. So he's saying in emotional fitness, there's a bunch of things that make up states. So if you had your states right in the center there, you've got language and meaning makes up a portion of state. So the words you use, or the words other people are using towards you, but also the meaning behind those words and what they mean to you will help make up your state. The biggest one of the 3 he calls the triad is your physiology. So that's the way you move, whether you're hydrated or not. What your diet's like, the way you sit, your posture, the way you talk. He talks about smiling, actually increasing blood flow in your head, which is going to increase blood flow to the brain. Smiling, putting you in a peak state. All those different things that make up your physiology then go to your state, which is sort of like that next level. And then the last thing that he talks about is focus. So whatever you're focused on, whether it be positive or negative, helps make up your state. So even if you're focused on something negative and you're saying, man, it's really negative, I don't want it to affect me, I don't want it to affect me, I don't want it to affect me, you're still focusing on that, and that's going to make up part of your state. So
I love it that they use that. They use heaps of really good examples, and the one is like, he was saying that they had this town where, people kept crashing into these light poles. They'd get tired or drunk or whatever from this pub. Was it a pub?
Yeah, I think so.
And no matter what happened, like they were like 25, 30 meters apart, and that people would always crash into a pole, and it was like, it's because whenever you're spinning out of control, you are like always looking for that thing that's going to kill you, like that's going to kill me, and whatever you're looking at, whatever your focus is on, is going to direct your body into that. So if you're looking at that light pole, there's a massive chance you're going to hit it. And same thing happens with I know it's pretty simple, but mountain biking, when you go riding, if you're riding down a hill and you're looking right in front of your tire and you try and turn, or whatever object you're looking at, you end up turning into. So if you're actually looking at the way out, so if there's a big long bend and you're looking at where you're heading to, your bike will travel in a smooth direction all the way around to where you're going. But if you're looking at the ground in front of you, or each little spot, you jaggedly turn, and it makes it a terrible time. So
yeah, and that just makes up your that's what he's talking about with your focus, because then that makes up your state. So some people's internal dialogue, they're constantly focusing on things that are wrong around them, things that might happen wrong, things that haven't happened yet but might happen wrong. And then what happens actually is your physiology and your whole entire state, your whole entire body literally evolves and changes. That's what we are as human beings, on a chemical level and a physical level, to make that happen. Because what your subconscious mind, or what he calls it, is your other than conscious, because subconscious would say that it's smaller, and other than and it's actually bigger than your conscious mind. So he calls it, your other than conscious mind doesn't know the difference between reality and not reality. So whatever you're focusing on, your other than conscious mind is going to think that's real and drive you towards that. And that's a powerful thing. It can be used for bad and by focusing on all the negative things, but it can also be used for good and focusing on all the positive things and for goal setting. So
the one of the really cool things that I liked from yesterday was the ultimate success formula. Like how do you achieve it? And there are a few steps. The first one being always know your outcome. Like anytime you want to achieve something, you must know in full clarity exactly what you want, what it's going to feel like when you've got it. You've got to visualize in your head. Let's just say, you want to win a CrossFit comp. You need to visualize like how it's going to feel like, what it's going to feel like walking up onto that podium, showing everyone that medal, like it with absolute clarity and emotional drive. You have to feel and see in your head your outcome. Then you have to know your reasons why. So why do you want to achieve that goal? What is your motivation? What is your emotional drive? He used a good example, which was like, if you were standing outside a burning house, and inside that house was a $10 bill on a bed, and he put a bunch of other stuff in the way, like vomit and all this sort of stuff. And he's like, if I told you, if you go inside, grab that $10, you can have it, would you go? And, everyone answered no. And then he said, well, what if that was somebody you loved? What if someone you loved was in that room, and if you didn't go, you were going to lose them? And everyone was like, yeah, absolutely, because you're emotionally driven by that. Like that is your reason why the person you love in there, they bring you happiness, they're the one person you cherish the most in your life. So there's like absolute emotional drive. So you've got to learn what your reason why is. And then once you have your visualization, your exact what it is and how it's going to feel, and why you want to do something, why do you want to do it from your heart, then you must take massive action. So it's not just a matter of like, oh, I really want to do this and do a few small steps and give up and go home. It's like you need to practice day in and day out. And every time you have failure, it's about trying something new, and they keep punching that into us. Hey,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, what do you do if you fail, or what do you do if it doesn't succeed? You try again.
Yeah.
You try something new. You try something new. You try something new. You keep trying something new. And I got this little note in here. It's like, every time you fail, you need to learn something. It's like, you only fail if you didn't learn something. So, yes, along the way there are going to be bumps on the road. You are going to come up against walls, and they're going to feel like failures. But is it a failure if you learn something? The answer is no. You need to learn something each time you hit a failure, and you need to try something new, and you need to keep pushing on until you get that success.
100%. Yeah. I think that comes into like what they're saying. They're getting all these different speakers on as well. Like we had, what's his name? Joseph McClendon,
The
the
third.
third, who's
Mike Melio.
and Scott Harris.
Scott Harris. Yeah.
Joseph's a neuropsychologist, so and he's talking about reticular activating system, like consciously, and he's talking about what your conscious is focusing on and all that sort of stuff as well. And then they're literally teaching us at the same time. And obviously these guys are masters of NLP, so they completely understand how we learn, and they completely understand how to teach us. So every single time we're learning something in there, we're repeating it time and time over again, like 3, 4, 5 times with everything.
A lot of times.
A lot of times. So we're repeating it constantly, because repetition is the mother of skill, and we're literally seeing it up on a PowerPoint. We're hearing it. We're getting in a peak state to learn. We're we're writing things down. Then we're doing things with our body to learn these things. So it's literally crazy how they are doing an NLP coaching session or a one-on-one learning session on a massive scale with 8,000 people. They're programming 8,000 people to learn this information, which is fucking crazy. And the last thing that, there's a few other big things that I learned yesterday, but obviously we won't go through everything. But the other one was...
We'll go through everything for a small fee of $9.99.
$9.99 per week. There's a massive one, which is the 3 beliefs of long-lasting change, and this is from Tony when he was... how old was he in that? It actually flashed back in a video to when he was like younger, like 25, 30 or some shit like that, and it's like the 3 beliefs of long-lasting change. He was doing all this change therapy with people and trying to get them to change, and he realized that he was changing sort of 99% of people, 4 out of 100 or something like that, or one out of 100 people I think was not changing, and they were changing and they were reverting back. So he tried to figure out why these people weren't changing, or why they were changing back from the states that he was getting them to, like quitting smoking and then starting again, and being scared of snakes, and then being getting over that, and then being scared of them again. So, and he broke it down to beliefs of lasting change, and he broke it down to ownership. So when he was younger and he was first trying to help people with change therapy and stuff, he was owning the process, and he was changing them, and that's how they felt in their minds. They were saying, Tony Robbins changed me, and Tony Robbins helped me change. And then he decided that was the reason why people weren't getting lasting change. So these are his 3 beliefs of lasting change. If you have these 3 beliefs, you'll be able to create lasting change. So number 1 is, this must change now. So he's saying whatever this is must change now, and he's using intense language there, and he wants you to focus on the language too. Number 2 is, I must change this now. So you're taking ownership as well. So I must change this now. And the third one is, I can change now. And the third one's really important for you to take ownership and say that I can change now, and I can make a change now. There's one quote that he keeps saying all the time, and he says, all progress comes from breaking patterns. So he's saying that life and human beings are literally like a computer with a program and a bunch of zeros and ones. And what he's saying is, anytime you want to change that, you have to break the pattern. You have to put a 1 where a 0 was, or you have to put a 0 where a 1 was, to break that pattern and break the chain. So
I really like it's all, there all has to be some heightened state of emotion. It's like, there's 2 things that will cause change: pleasure or pain. So like he used an example of the way he got a guy to quit smoking, and basically it was the guy liked smoking, he really enjoyed smoking, he didn't want to stop. And he made smoking so unbearably unenjoyable for this guy in this session that he did, that the guy just said, I don't want to smoke anymore, you know what I mean? So he put so much pain with this session that this guy gave up, and it's like coming up with like, it's not just good enough to be like, oh, well, you know, why am I motivated to change, and have a half-assed reason. You have to work out what is going to give you absolute pleasure from that situation or pain, so that you don't want to do it or that you do want to do it, but it's clear. There are a couple of little quotes, like I write down a few quotes throughout the day, like that they're saying like, what is real is what I believe is possible. Like what they're saying is anyone can achieve anything that they want as long as they believe that it's possible. If you want something but you don't really believe that you can get it, then you're not really going to have as much chance at success. There's no road to success that is perfectly paved. I mean, that just goes to show, like, there's going to be potholes in the way. You might trip over and roll an ankle, but what do? Do you get up and heal from that, grow and move on, or do you pack up your bags and go home? You know, I've talked about this before, but they talk about you are the sum of the 5 people that you hang around with most, and they've talked about being a team player, and they're like, people's lives are the direct reflection of the expectations of their peer group. So they're saying find a team, build a peer group around you that have high expectations of you, so that you are constantly striving to achieve. If they don't have that higher expectation of you, you're less likely to try to achieve all the time, because you're not held to a higher standard by your peer group. And I thought that was really, really powerful.
Yeah, he uses an awesome little story there about Marines over in the US. They're really strong pack and a really strong group while they're in the Marines.
They live to the highest standard possible.
They work to the absolute highest standards. They're expected to have no creases in their clothing, and they absolutely regimented with every part of their life. They wake up at X time, they go to sleep at X time. They all do the exact same thing too as well. They work with each other, and they're all expected to do more. And then what he's saying is the percentage of Marines when they leave the Marine Corps that drop off, or they lower these expectations, or they stop waking up at those times and going to bed at those times, and they stop expecting so highly of themselves.
They live to like lower standards.
Yeah, they drop their standards when they leave the Marine Corps, because they're not surrounded by that intensity anymore as well. Which sort of leads, one of his quotes as well is, find a team that'll challenge you, not support you. And what's the most common thing that human beings do, with oxytocin release and all that sort of stuff? They're looking for people to support them. They're looking for, oh yes, feed me, feed my ego, tell me I'm amazing, tell me you're going to look after me, tell me I'm safe, tell me I'm certain, tell me that I'm always going to have a friend, And he's saying, as opposed to that, you want to surround yourself with a team that's going to challenge you and say, you're not being your best self, or you can do better than that. Or pull your standards up, lift your standards up, and that's a massive takeaway, which so many different motivational speakers talk about that. But he breaks it down on a neuroscience level, which for me resonates so much more. He's not just talking about your herd and how that's going to really help you. He's talking about neuroscience. He's talking about chemical balance and release of chemicals in your brain changing when you're expected more from other people, because your pack or your herd is expecting more from you, and you will change on a biochemical level to meet that expectation. Whether you meet it straight away or later on down the track, you will start to change to meet that expectation. And for me, the science behind that makes it so much more resonates with me.
There was one more thing that I wanted to go by, but I've just lost it.
I had some quotes up. I'll say some quotes.
Go.
The past does not equal the future unless you live there. That's a really big one.
So true.
Yeah. So what happened in your past doesn't equal what's going to happen in your future, unless that's what you focus on. Unless that is your focus, you're focusing on the things that happened in the past. They are going to show up constantly in your future. And the reason they show up, once again, talk about the science of it. It's not some hippie shit. The science of that is part of your brain called reticular activating system, which, you know, it's like if I say, you know, red gets, or, you know, red.
If you go and buy
Commodore,
buy a brand new red Commodore.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you're going to see them everywhere.
You're going to all of a sudden see these red Commodores. Or if I started to say to you, I never see red cars. I never see red cars. I don't know why I don't see red cars anymore. All of a sudden, when you guys get back to your house, you are going to start to see more red cars. And the reason for that is reticular activating system. There's trillions of packets of information that come into your, you know, other than conscious mind, and it gets broken down into like 246 packets of information, and they go into your reticular activated system, and that becomes what your focus and what your mind is actually able to comprehend, what your conscious mind is able to comprehend.
Looking for it, yeah.
Yeah, it starts to look for those things, and you know, that's literally the craziest thing. Is you start to focus on these things for your past, and then all of a sudden they're showing up in your life. You know, all of a sudden you're like talking about someone in your past that's a real shit person, and they really brought you down, and you just can't believe how people could be so cruel, and all these sorts of things as well. And that's your focus. All of a sudden you see that. You see it on your Facebook feed. You know, you may have scrolled past it in the past if you weren't focusing on it, but you see cruelty on there, and you see cruelty in other people because you're literally focusing on it. So
that's I love this. Stand guard at the door of your mind.
Yes. Don't let the bullshit in.
Don't let the bullshit in. That one little thing that I wanted to mention was just on that, choosing your peer group, choosing the people that you want to surround you to bring you growth and to have higher expectation of you. He says, like, sometimes in your families you might have people that are toxic, that aren't necessarily going to give you the most conducive environment for growth. But he says, love your family, choose your peers.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge.
Love your family. That doesn't mean you need to, you know, cut people out of your life because they might not necessarily be the best for you. But he's like, love your family, choose your peer group.
Yeah.
I think on that note, buddy, we got to go.
It's time. Yeah, we got to get out of here.
We got to be there in 4 minutes so that we can bring you some more cracking information. But today is all about breaking through, eh? It's about taking some of the limiting beliefs. So we've done a lot of work so far on like pumping ourselves up and showing us what we're capable of, and strategies for growth. And we'll get back to you about this one, but I'm pretty much sure we're going to go away today with our breakthroughs and try to get rid of some of our limiting beliefs and try and get rid of some of the garbage. So we might be broken men, we'll be sobbing and crying later on today.
No.
We'll be ready to crush life.
Boys! Alright, let's do this. Is it record?
It is a record.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Them vocal cords are fresh.
As you can all probably tell, our voices are slowly leaving us.
Who do we need? Why do we need voices? So yesterday was somewhat mind-blowing.
I would say it was more than somewhat mind-blowing. Pretty fucking intense is what I would say.
Extremely intense. Do not bring your children.
Yeah. Yeah, so we did, obviously we're working on a lot of limiting beliefs and getting rid of limiting beliefs, and and replacing those with new programs and new positive beliefs and stuff. And one of the ways, people obviously move away from pain or towards pleasure. So like you can program a new belief by imagining like where you want to go and what you want to do and how you want to do it, and making it a really intense feeling. Or you can crush an old limiting belief by making the pain so intense that you never want to be in that pain again. You never want to believe in that belief again because it was so much pain to you. So we've been doing all the positive stuff all week, and then yesterday he decided, let's crush those limiting beliefs. So we had to list down our biggest limiting beliefs that affect us in life, and then we had to essentially live in our pain home, which he calls it, or our pain body, and just imagine 8,000 people in a stadium, lights off. It's intense. It's intense in that room. Like you can cut the tension with a knife. 8,000 people in there, all the lights off, and Tony's talking through, his belief change process, and he's getting he's literally focusing on enhancing the pain that surrounds that belief, like all the consequences of having that belief, and enhancing the pain so much, like 8,000 people crying and, screaming out in pain, and it was just literally the most intense thing that I've ever.
Let me give you an example. So mine is one of my limiting beliefs, and I always say it. It's like it was programmed into me hard that I don't have time. I'm blaming time on everything, and he wants you to think about all the things that limiting belief in the past, all the things that you've missed out on because of thinking that, and all the most devastating outcomes that you could possibly come up with. And for me it was like, my kids. I won't have time with my kids, so they won't respect me. My wife will leave me. I'll basically like live an unfulfilled life because if I don't have time for anything, then I'll just end up dying unhappy, thinking that I didn't have enough time, and he builds this. It's like a guided meditation, but not to calm you down or to bring you down, to bring you up. It's like to really pull you down and make you feel the weight of just how bad that feels, and there's like blood curdling screams in the room, and you're freaking all like crying and bloody. Oh, it was rough.
Yeah, and he's dragging you through that shit. He's like, imagine all the people that are going to leave you because of this limiting belief, and the things that you won't have in your life. Fast forward 10 years, how fucked up is your life because of this limiting belief? Fast forward 20 years, how fucked up is your life? Like, and he's just making you feel it and shit, and. Like
he wants to push you to that point that you just will not. You're like, when you get to that point where it's just like, fuck this, I'm not going to do this anymore. This is not going to be me. Like that's that point where that it takes you to get to where you're just like, I am not experiencing this anymore. Yeah. It's never ever going to happen again, and boom.
And he's like, and I'm not an emotional guy. I'm really one of the least emotional people. I'm really stable and all this sort of stuff. But you got.
I don't know. I've got a few cuddles from you this weekend, bro.
Yeah, exactly. You've got 8,000 fucking people in a stadium.
Yeah.
Get the intense music, the lighting, all that sort of shit, and I was getting emotional. It sucks you into that state, and that's what we're talking about. We're constantly talking about state. It sucks you into that state, and this time we got sucked into the most negative state I've probably ever been in.
Yeah, it was pretty rough.
It was fucking crazy.
So after that, once you're ready to like not put up with that shit anymore, he does a bunch of anchoring and gets everyone pumped up and makes them feel bloody amazing. And then he starts to scratch the CD as if your CD was I don't have enough time. He tries to scratch that out so that even if you try to play that CD, it doesn't work, and he gets you to do stupid shit like stick your finger up your nose and say I don't have time in the dumbest voice, or look at your partner and try and outdo them with how stupid you are doing something, so that even if you do play that old record of whatever that limiting belief was, it's almost like a joke to you. It's like, oh, this is like, what the hell?
Yeah,
like,
it's just crushed,
And then after that, you do some work on replacing your old limiting belief with what you want to believe, and quite often he was saying it's the opposite. So, with me, it's like, if I'm using my example of like I don't have enough time, it's like I have all the time to do whatever I want, and it's quite simple, but then embedding that program into your mind so that you're not limited by this thing. Like the truth is everybody has the same amount of time.
Yeah.
So, it's not like I am any different to anybody else, but it's the use of your time and how you think about it, which is mainly the main difference.
Yeah. And he talks about mastery, and repetition is the mother of mastery, or the key to mastery. So what you're doing is essentially trying to master your emotions. You're eliciting these emotions that are inherently positive. We've only done negative once, but we've done positive at least 1,000 times over the last 4 days.
And I think he's tried to really draw you into a negative state and pull you back out like that to prove to you that you can pull yourself out of a negative state by and put yourself into a positive state, like in the click of a fingers,
Yeah.
with practice.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're in that state, you can just pull yourself out and be like, fuck this, I'm going to crush life.
Yeah, 100%.
There's two things that I thought were really cool, and if you've done any work with an NLP coach or with anybody who is growing in life, you'll find that most of them have some sort of rituals that they do to ensure like that they are going to crush the day. And Tony goes through his ritual. It's just 10 minutes in the morning doing some meditative type breathing. So just breathing, he does like a hand pump thing. You would have seen it on some of his videos. I use Wim Hof breathing sometimes. I want to do it more often now.
What's that one?
Yeah, that's the Tony Robbins one. And it's very similar to Wim Hof. Wim Hof's 30 breaths, in and out deep. Then you spend 3 minutes on working on 3 moments of absolute gratitude, and you got to think it, feel it, be in that moment, and how much joy it brought you. So you think of 3, and then 3 minutes of some sort of prayer or blessing, or some sort of just like giving love to those you love, and then 3 minutes of things that you want to achieve, and you actually having achieved those things and how good it would feel.
Yeah.
And this primes your body into a state of gratitude and into a state of positive thinking. And all throughout the weekend, it basically, it comes down to this. Your body is energy, and whatever signal of energy your body is putting out, it attracts. Think of yourself as a massive antenna, and if your antenna is a negative state, it's going to draw in negative states. So you basically suck that into your life. If everything that you think about is constantly negative, if everything sucks, and you're always in that negative state, and you're always thinking about how unfair life is going to be unfair. If you think about if you're putting yourself in a positive state, and the morning prime is a perfect way of doing that, because you're automatically setting yourself up with gratitude and blessing and those feelings of goodness. You're priming yourself for that day, for you to bring those things into your life, those energy frequencies, and that's like using things like RAS, like if you're that reticular activating system. If you're thinking to yourself like people are good, you're going to notice good people all day. Like if that's in your mind, in the bottom of your heart, you think people are genuinely good, you're always going to look for the good in everyone. But if you're one of those people, and you're going to see it daily, and it's going to reinforce that.
Yeah.
But if you genuinely think people are bad, then you're going to see the negative in every single person. Doesn't matter whether they're a positive or negative person. That's a perfect example of it. What if you think life is hard? What do you think life's going to be? Do you think it's going to be easy? No.
It's going to be hard.
Because it's going to be hard. So the important thing is getting yourself into that physiological state, and be ready to receive, to bring in, put out and bring in those positive things that you want in your life, rather than putting out that negative signal and attracting that crap in your life.
Yeah, 100%. Amen.
And the last one that I thought was extremely naughty is if you want total mastery, he talks about modeling somebody who has already achieved what you want. Mm-hmm. So going out into your field of interest, or what you want to be better at, finding those people that have mastered it, and then learning through total immersion. Try to get yourself into a situation where you are totally immersed in learning from that person, and then do spaced repetition. So repeat what you've learned over a period of time, so that gets embedded into your brain. And I think that falls directly into that, peer group. Like what we spoke about yesterday. If you surround yourself with peers who expect more of you and bring you up and are doing things that you want to achieve, then that's the same as modeling someone who's achieved something that you want. Like putting yourself into a situation where you're surrounded by people that have done what you want to achieve. Again, that's like, having that antenna on your body set to like, I'm gonna smash life.
Yeah, that's it. That's all you're taking in. Like if all you're surrounded by is positivity, because that's what you choose to be surrounded by, then that's what's going to come into you, and that's what you're going to put out as well. If you choose to be surrounded by negativity, like what a lot of people don't realize is their internal dialogue is constantly negative. They're constantly thinking about negative things, and then what's happening is the situations that they put themselves in life become inherently negative because of that. So, if a conversation with someone, if I relate it to work, like you could think someone's being untrustworthy or doing the wrong thing or something like that. Now, if you're thinking that inside your head, every interaction you're having with that person, you're then going to be processing that internal dialogue. So you're actually going to act negatively towards them. And I'm not just talking on the level of communication, like what you're saying. I'm talking about your body language and your tone when you talk to that person, and the energy that you have when you communicate with them. You're literally putting your internal dialogue out into the world. And that's what a lot of people don't realize is you have your physiology. Your physiology helps power the mind and drive the mind by movement, because motion creates emotion. But then if you're up there with that internal dialogue and your physiology is representing that, then the mind controls your body. And then from there, you're literally, because 93% of communication is non-verbal, you are literally 93% putting out negativity. And that's a crazy thing that I picked up as well. The other big thing that I picked up was the 3 pillars of progress, and I think that's it's something that a lot of people have sort of probably learnt about, not necessarily 3 pillars in this way, but they've learnt about this, but probably not piece these together in such a way that's so simple and easy. So number 1 is get laser focused, make it clear and compelling. This is your what and your why. So get laser focused on exactly what you want, like what it is. What does it look like? What does it taste like? What does it smell like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? Like exactly what is that thing that you want? And then why? Why is it that you want that? And not just why you want that, what that's going to do for your life, but why you want that on a chemical level and on an emotional level. Why do you want that? What sort of feelings? Yeah, what feelings do you want that for? Because the reason that you want that doesn't come back to, the reason that I want to make $1,000 is not to buy a car. The reason that I want $1,000 is to buy a car, then to have stability, to have emotional stability, to have confidence, and be proud of myself because I have a car that I can drive around in. That's why I want it. If I know that, then I have more power driving towards it. So that's number 1. Number 2 is get the best tools, maps, strategies, coaching, whatever it is. Find out what you want. If it's in the area of finance, and your skills or your abilities don't lie, on a high level in the section of finance, then find someone, like Clint said, find someone that does know, and get the best tools, get the best map, get the best strategy from those people to achieve what you want. So, somebody has done what you want to do before, and you're going to need to find out what their strategy was and how they did it. And we break strategies down, and I won't go too far into it, but we literally broke eliciting a strategy down so far yesterday that we're literally looking at the modalities, so visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory and gustatory, that make up the decision-making process of the person who has what you want. If Clint's achieving the income that I want of $1,000, if he's achieving that, I can actually look at his strategy and find out, okay, what did you do to achieve that, Clint? And he said, well, what I did was I visualized this and I visualized this, and then talk to myself, and then I just get out there and go do it.
But I feel.
Yeah, but he feels. He's a feeler.
I'm a feeler.
People, you heard it here first. He's a feeler.
I'm a feeler.
So you can actually find out their strategy. It's like, oh no, when I'm going out there to do a sale, the best salesperson ever. Like, model yourself off the best salesperson. When I go out there to do a sale, I visualize myself getting a sale, or I talk to myself and pump myself up, or I just have a feeling inside me of confidence, like I'm going to get the sale. And you can model yourself off that. We'll say, oh, okay, so the feeling really works for this person, or visualizing it really works. And you can model that and start to plan how you're going to achieve that success around what they've already done. Because the idea behind that is work smarter, not harder. Let somebody else do the heavy lifting. They've been through the hard yards. They've been through all the trial and error. Every decision you make in life and every successful decision you make doesn't have to be hard. You don't have to do trial and error 1,000 times to be successful, you want to be a PT. How many other successful PTs out there are there, Don't trial and error with your business 1,000 times. It's your business. Go and find someone who's successful and doing it well already. Model what they do. So that's number 2. And then number 3 is get into action. Unlock and unleash alignment and integration. So what this is talking about is find out what works for you and what the good things are, and then align that with yourself. Align that goal or that thing that you want to achieve with yourself. Do I want to achieve that, to increase my contribution to the world? Do I want to achieve that to give me certainty, to give me uncertainty or variety. Like, why do I actually want to achieve that? Is it love? Is it happiness? And then align yourself with that, because that has the power. And then the thing that they were talking about is the 2 millimeter rule. I only caught the back end of it because I needed to pee.
I'll give it to you.
Yeah, Clint will give it to you. And just a note on the peeing. If there's any doctors or anything out there, guys, I'm peeing at least.
He must have a bladder this big.
I'm peeing at least 10 times a day over here. So, if anyone can help me out, and it's white pee, so I'm hydrated. It's getting kind of frustrating because I'm constantly leaving the pee.
2 millimeter rule, pretty simple. He gave an example. Plot a course to Hawaii on a plane, and if at the beginning of the course you are 2 millimeters off course, what does that mean for where you're going to end up? That means that you're going to end up 1,000 miles off course by the time you get there. So, and they gave a whole heap of other examples, like with golf, how, if you're overcorrecting all the time, you are going to over adjust. And that 2 millimeter rule is make small changes regularly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it applies to a lot of things. They talked about, like, how if you're going to model someone, do you need to model someone who's good? No, you don't need to model someone who's good because you're going to get poor results. Do you model someone that's excellent? No, you don't model somebody that's excellent because you're only going to get good results. Do you model someone that's freaking outstanding? They're like, no, because you're only still going to get good results. You need to model someone that's just 2 millimeters better than outstanding. Like, the tiniest amount more makes the biggest difference in your life.
Yeah.
So, and I think that feeds to, like, if you are on a mission, whenever you have any failures, that's when you make your 2 mil adjustment. Like, if you have a failure, adjust and keep going. Adjust and keep going. And it only needs to be small adjustments each time to make the biggest difference and keep you on course.
And the best ones, I caught the end of this, and the best 2 millimeter adjustments to make are educated adjustments. Like Clint said about the modeling, a golf expert, Tiger Woods, can tell you within 1 millimeter on that ball where to hit it with your golf club. And if you smack the golf club and it goes too far left, the golf ball, sorry, and it goes too far left, and then you overcorrect and you go 2 mil to the right, and then it goes too far right, Tiger Woods can tell you before you make 1,000 swings and find that perfect spot on the ball, he can tell you within a millimeter of exactly where to hit it on that ball. So you can make an educated 2 millimeter rule. You can make an educated decision about that, and then you can make some educated action, and you can achieve something so much more extreme than trying to do the trial and error like I was talking about before. Hit that ball 1,000 times. Oh, that's the perfect spot there. That's the perfect spot there. Or you just ask someone who already is an expert, or they're the absolutely peak of outstanding, and they'll go, oh, hit it right here. And then that removes that 1,000 hits. And then that's your way to success. That's speed.
The last thing is, is it Joe McClendon?
Joseph
McClendon teaches us that shaking your ass, all you got to do is shake your ass. Talks about that physiology. You know what I'm saying? Makes you feel good, sets your physiology up right. So just for you guys, I'm going to give you a little...
That's work. Oi! Who would have thought he could shake his ass like that? But he actually talks about the physiology of shaking your ass. If you shake your ass, if I get up right now and shake my ass,
that did feel pretty good.
I got no choice but to move the rest of my body, you know what I mean? I can't move my ass and not the rest of my body. My hips are going, my legs are going, my arms are going. So shaking your ass
sets up for that physiology.
Physiologically is the best movement to make to move the whole body. And if we're moving the whole body, motion creates emotion, and then we're winning.
Then we're gonna crush life.
Do whatever the fuck you want to do. Ball sack! Did you get that?
I did.
Oh shit. Can you see my face? Can you see the whites of my eyes? This is the first vlog we've done at night.
I know. Day 4.
Day 4. Peace out.
Peace out. All that's going on is this guy's just constantly farting.
Yeah.
That.
I have been constantly farting though. It's been quite
It's been one.
quite intense.
Let me tell you that I've cuddled this guy more times in the last 4 days than I think I will cuddle him for the rest of our lives.
Probably. Whoa, hey.
We're deeply connected now. I just stare you in the eyes.
Yeah, so we put some real spiritual love into each other's eyes today, and
It was touching.
it was definitely enlightening, and I think I have a new respect for Tammy. I think I've sort of realised, you know, what she's all about now. Being with this guy, you know, very intense.
So,
and I got to stare into another woman's eyes and make her cry. So
yeah.
that was also very
I'm
intense.
the woman now.
I was staring into this woman's eyes, right, for one of the exercises, and she just started to fucking bawl her eyes out, and I was like, oh, sorry.
So today we get there. Today was... Who was first up today?
First up was Mike Emilio on business. That was actually really
that was-
valuable stuff.
That was really good. Fuck, we didn't have our notes on that one, but
Yeah.
basically he steps us through
7 steps of business.
7
mastery.
steps of business mastery, and of course they're trying to sell the shit out of all their courses for the last 2 days. But he gave some really cool points, like on you know, how to develop your website and like sort of how to market to people and not to be afraid to bare your soul and show people what you're all about, because people are going to come to you regardless of whether or not you give away your proprietary information. They come to you for you know.
Yeah. He's a pretty smart guy. Like,
And this guy's really intense.
yeah, So of all the presenters get up there and they're like, woo, let's do this, fuck yeah, awesome, Tony Robbins, shake your hips, blah, blah, blah. And this one guy out of all the presenters gets up there, Mike Melio, and his story is that he went to unleash the power within, 30-something years ago or whatever.
A long time ago,
and he had a life change. Now he's personal friends with Tony Robbins, and now he's a millionaire, and blah, blah, blah. And he talks about his story of being homeless and all this sort of shit. And he gets up on the stage, he's this bald guy, Italian, shorter guy, stocky, and he gets up there and he's just intense as all fuck. Like, he just is staring at the crowd, and everyone's like, whoa, yes, hey everybody, how are we going today? This guy's like, whoa, yes, hi everybody, my name's Mike Melio. And he just talks like that the whole time.
Some people say, I'm sorry, but I'm quite an intense guy.
Yeah, he's like, sorry guys, I'm gonna give you a heads up, I'm a bit intense. The whole fucking time, this guy is just intense. So
that was really cool. That business plan. They spend a lot of time today talking about health.
yes.
And like some of the key facts, like about how to be healthy. What was they went through his morning ritual? No, they did that yesterday. Hey.
Yeah.
No, we did that this morning.
Yeah, we did it this morning and yesterday.
Yeah, we actually did the morning ritual again with them, and they're like, that is one of the key, most important parts of setting up your day. So like to do that every single day. They talked about like drinking water and cellular biology a little bit, and the
acidic levels in your body.
Yeah, a bunch of stuff. They only really sort of touched briefly on a lot of things, and they're actually setting us up on like a 10-day challenge. So that we can set ourselves up with healthy eating and well, not just healthy eating, but healthy being, basically.
Yeah.
And they taught us how to breathe, like breathing mechanics, and we did a lot of kind of like meditative type work today.
Yeah, where to breathe from. They got Master Co, I believe his name is Master Co. He's I don't know what you would call him. He's
A monk or something.
Yeah, like a spiritualist, spiritual healer sort of guy. He's from China. But he's been to all different cultures now, and he does healing and that sort of stuff with energy and all those sorts of things. So very, I don't know what to say, of personal development. That's very left wing, would you say?
Yeah.
Left wing development of personal stuff. Like a lot of people were sort of a bit spooked out, but the stuff that he went through was intense. He talked about meditation and how to actually clear your mind. And can I say that today was the first time I've ever meditated and had 0 things in my mind.
Can I say that I wasn't there for most of that session? And I probably really needed to be.
In my entire life, I've never meditated and had nothing in my mind, because you meditate and then you've still got images and all shit running through your mind. But today was the only time in my entire life that I've had nothing.
Yeah.
And not been thinking about anything. So I was very impressed by that.
Bloody hell. Prior to that session, they had a session on this new technology that's been released in America, and it's like this new machinery which is like the latest and greatest shit, and it's basically designed to develop your musculoskeletal system and your bone density with 4 machines in a 10-minute circuit once a week, and there's like incredible results that are being produced by this, and it's making performance go through the roof. It's working with people to build bone density and people with osteoarthritis, and like having superb results all throughout the US, and they've developed this whole model, and they're importing this shit in. So the minute that I saw this session, they're like, oh, it's out there, you can go test machines. I'm fucking running out to these machines. I'm like, this is the sickest thing ever. So like I'm out there talking to them for half an hour. The next minute, this guy's in there like doing all this Zen shit, and I like miss out on that half that session.
He walks back in, and I'm sitting there like, I'm fucking conjuring up some real serious energy, and he steps into my energy flow as he comes through, and he probably got burnt or zapped or something, because I know it was intense.
And then I'm like, and he's like, in between the ohms, just enjoy the mind calming, and I'm like, there's a million things going through my mind. But I got the gist. I was like, I'll just Instagram this guy later. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to
believe it or not,
sessions out.
In between those fucking ohms, there was nothing. It was gonskis, and I felt amazing once I came out of it, eh?
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, far out. That's the first time in my whole life I didn't think.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend will probably disagree with that. But I do think lots. And all the time.
So basically, I guess to wrap up the whole experience, I don't think you could. I don't think you could. You have to do this basically.
Yeah, you can't quantify.
Like you're not going to understand the feeling. Like we can explain to you how it feels to be in that situation. And yes, they try and sell the absolute crap out of their further programs. And look, that's a part of their model, and that's what they do. And they truly believe that it
will change your life.
It's going to change your life, and whether or not that's kind of like, we discussed this morning, is it ethical? Is it, they've got you in this meditative state, they've got you like ready to buy, and there's all these emotions and things like that. So, it's quite easy to just jump in and do that. But if you can get past that, like I still feel like you can get a lot out of just that seminar. And you'll experience things that you've never experienced before. It could open your mind up to a million doorways which you never thought were even out there, and all these doors start opening because of some of the work that you've done. I do think that they do have a key message that like you have to go do work on it. Like don't just walk out of the seminar, and even if you don't do coaching with them, they're like it's important to have someone to coach you. Which I think is true. Like I think it's very beneficial. You need a mentor. Like you have to have someone to coach you. So
like we said yesterday, or last night or whatever, you need someone to have that. Someone needs to be that model. Like you need to be able to model yourself on something. So whether that's a coach or whether that's a mentor, like you need something. And they keep banging on about that this whole course. And I think first day we discussed repetition is the mother of mastery, or the mother of mastery, and then we've repeated everything constantly.
Constantly repeated.
They've repeated themselves constantly. I've seen the same content, even 2 or 3 times through this, and not in a bad way where they're just repeating themselves, but in a way where they want to embed that so deeply inside us that when we leave, we remember that information. When we come back here, to do our vlog, we can remember things without notes, and we